So we've just had Adobe release 3 different applications inside ChatGPT, which is really cool. These are available now, so you can test them out. And we have just got this little video here, which I'll just play in the background. They've got 3 apps. So first of all, it's Photoshop. So you can tag it, get it to edit photos. It can do things like adjust. We've got their exposure and contrast. You can just quickly make refinements to different images. And then we've got Adobe Express, which is mainly helped at sort of adjusting designs. So if you've got a leaflet or you've got a banner or anything like this, you can help create it and then edit it directly within ChatGPT. And then the final one that we've got is Acrobat. So this is more around documentation and adjusting things like PDFs. If you want to do any refinement, let's say you've got it, you can get it to recreate those versions or reorder them or anything like this. And all do that again natively within ChatGPT. Now we'll go into the experience that they've tried to create here, but really this is more of a foot in the door to the Adobe tools. So you're able to use them completely for free. And that's amazing because obviously these are quite expensive tools to get started with. And we're going to actually just give a full demo now. And Vince, I'll let you share screen and then we can just bring to life how you can use some of these, because I think it's great for people that actually aren't using these tools yet, because you've got free access, like I said. And then even people with full subscriptions, you can start your experience within ChatGPT and do things more quickly and easily with the prompting, and then to go and do full edits, in the tools if you need to.
We'll talk later on how great of an experience this could be, but something that stood out to me was there is a very good flow here with I want to do something. They're going to show you kind of, okay, is this the direction you're interested in? That you can prompt again and you can iterate all with kind of these app experiences, which is not something I had seen before from the other apps. So I think they've actually done quite a lot of innovation on design and user experience. And I think it's going to be very interesting for inspiration for other types of apps, which are a little bit more workflow based rather than like, I want to book a hotel, right? It's getting more complex. So it's a very interesting one to study and look at. So we'll just go ahead and do a little demo. I believe, we're doing this in December 25. Apps are only available in the US. So if you want to follow along, make sure you're VPN'd if you're not located there. And I tried to prompt a bit without the app connected. That didn't work. So we're going to go ahead and start and just go into apps and connectors and make sure that we have all of these connected. And interestingly, I didn't have to sign in. I didn't click anything there. We'll do the same for Photoshop. No sign in required. And we'll do the same for Acrobat, or maybe I already have it connected. Yeah, so I have all 3 now. Let's go ahead and start with Acrobat. And something I like to do when I'm playing around with an app is I'll literally ask, what is the metadata for this app? List all tools and description. This allows me to also kind of understand, okay, well, what is it capable of, right? Instead of just discovering by chance. So the Acrobat tool allows to edit, organize, redact, convert, and analyze PDF documents. So a whole bunch of tools. It's pretty comprehensive. And I think, what we'll do is I'll just go ahead and take a little dummy PDF, printer manual, and I'll say, please split this into 2 documents. First half, second half. Something we'd usually open PDF Acrobat for, or go to one of those websites, the ones with ads. They suck up all your data. So, okay, yeah. So that was a pretty intuitive kind of like workflow experience. Appears to be some sort of connect.
No, that was interesting. I think that was effectively a login sort of
Yeah, and I
confirmation
wonder if
screen,
they have
i.e.
kind of the
like,
logins turned off, something they're going to add later.
yeah, because I think that was almost like it would have been. We can go back and just look at what that flow actually said, because I think it was almost insinuating, okay, like, do you want to log in now to your Acrobat account, or do you just want to continue?
Yeah. Yeah, I may be put into some sort of loop. It actually worked when I tried it before this video. It is working. It's a pretty big document with about 30 pages. Okay, so it did do it. It's interesting because previously I actually got a visual widget which showed kind of a preview of my part 1 and my part 2. and it chose not to do it this time and do a text-only output. But I think the important thing is it worked. There was maybe not a need for the visual aspect. We could try to do a different action. So let me try the same thing, and let's say let's redact this document. I don't want to see the word print. It's a printer manual.
Right. That'll take some work. I think also something I've actually seen pretty consistently. Interesting.
So I just put it in the chat. Um,
So is that asking for you to add more tools?
yeah, I'm not sure if this is a drag and drop or okay, now that's obviously drag and drop, even though I just uploaded it in the chat. All right, I'll press continue.
What's interesting is, I mean, we're very early with this app. This is just a couple of days old, but something that's interesting, and I've seen this in other apps as well, is that there is a bit of an inconsistency in the experience that you get in areas that like would look the same. So for example, when you get the output, sometimes you'll get a nice UI that will show you the output that you're getting, and sometimes you won't. Other times where you're attaching the images, they'll just, in this case, you attach the image, they've picked it up, or they're now asking you a UI where you need to reattach it, for example. So I think it's early for some of these things, and they're sort of just trying to figure out maybe what is the best UI and doing multiple tests.
Yeah, I appear to be in some sort of loop. So it's promising, right? I would love to be able to upload a PDF and just kind of get done almost. I think that splitting worked all right. Um, Here I would expect to see some sort of preview with the redactions that I had wanted, but doesn't appear to allow me to do that. So promising. I think the Adobe Acrobat version of the app needs some work. Let's go ahead and look at some of the other ones. So let's try Photoshop next, and I'll go ahead and I'll just upload
Or
a
change
stock
context
photo I
window.
found. Yeah, I could start a new chat, but let's see what happens if I don't, right? Um, and I'll say let's blur the background. I didn't even mention Photoshop here. Does appear to connect to the app. Selected the Photoshop app.
Yeah, because it's got you've got the two at the bottom there, so it's basically had to choose between Photoshop or Acrobat in this case. Very good.
So this is pretty good, right? So I asked it to make an adjustment on blur. It gives me a nice little slider.
Getting the slider there and being able to live then edit is
So
is
I'll do
really cool.
like a small blur, right? Something like this. Looks like I'll be able to go full screen. And then let's also make this black and white. You've got this open in Photoshop button here. But I think also interestingly, you've got a download, right? So um, if I'm happy with this,
Yeah, this is great.
I'll go
And it's great that
back
you can actually
out of.
be in full screen and do the editing as well so that you can properly see the image.
So I think for most people who want to do some simple photo editing and they don't want to download Photoshop or get a Canva subscription, I think one interesting one that a lot of people deal with is can you remove the background entirely?
I think something to call out as well that I quite like about this is personally when I've been, using AI, whether it's Nano Banana or ChatGPT's,
There you
yeah,
go.
very good. Yeah, or ChatGPT's image generator. One thing is you have to prompt and then hope it understands what you want, whereas you don't have the level of refinement that we just showed there. Like that is the first time I've seen a scale adjustment for something like a blur background ever in a chat window. And it's always been sort of like you'll prompt and hope, and then let's say you prompt to make it blurry, you're like, oh, could it be a bit more blurry, please? But it's great to see that you've
So
got
I was
this
able
interactive
to
experience UI.
so I was able to download it without any logins or additional steps. It was just a one-click download. Let's play with the last one, which is Adobe Express, which is probably a little bit less well known. And what they do is they'll make like invites, templates, um, flyers. So let's make an invitation for the apps on chatgpt.com launch party, December 20th, my place. Spelled that, I think, though. So it's pulling up Adobe Express. I think it understood from invitation or something template based. And it's nice. It's giving me a set of templates suitable, right? So first, and this is something I find quite interesting. It's taking me down a workflow. So this is kind of step one. Choose a design you like. So I actually don't really like any of them. I'm assuming I can do more, but well, let's do this one. Looks yeah, looks like a good party. Um, and then you can customize the text. Please just make up some good text. Ensure you mention there's caviar and use the template I chose above. So now what I think we're going to see hopefully is they're going to take this template, add some good text that looks like it's given me an edit in Adobe Express link. The app itself is taking a minute.
Waiting
Go
for
ahead and
that, I
click
think
on this one.
while we're waiting for that, one key thing here I think to discuss is that link. So what you'll notice is a topic that we need to discuss is like, why is Adobe doing this? So they've got this
Yeah.
free application, and they're obviously now letting people use a load of their different functions across their biggest apps already within ChatGPT for free. And I think the main reason they're doing it is because of the distribution advantage and getting new users to then properly use the full tooling suite. So you can see here what they're doing is they're letting you create a first version of something. So you can sort of adjust and create a simple piece. But if you want to get in and refine it properly, do some edits, it will give you the Express link. And if you go into that Express link, and it's true for all of these applications, you'll notice you do not have full edit rights. So you can't now go into Adobe and then just edit it with their full tooling suite. Then you need to pay for a different tier of subscription. So I think it's a really smart move. And I think this is important thing to think about as a business, why you would use ChatGPT apps, because you're going to see some where you haven't yet actually seen a sort of paid app directly within ChatGPT. I think that's coming. But what this does show you is it could be a really, really big, distribution channel to give someone a free version before they then have to, pay to use your full product within your own platform.
So unfortunately, ChatGPT is being honest that there's something failing. I did get it to work earlier, so this was a different invitation I created right before this video where I was able to take an invite and it auto-filled the text. I saw it in the chat and I was able to open it here and then I could, adjust it here and then there is a download as well, right? So when it worked, I was actually very impressed by this journey, but the caveat is that you'd expect it to work consistently. And yeah, it's early days. We're inevitably going to see a bunch of bugs, and we're seeing these across all apps, right? So I don't want to, call out Adobe too much because it may also be issues with the actual apps SDK on why right now something isn't loading.
And if you go back into the flyer, it points to what I mentioned. So you can see there, see premium at the top. But
So
I think like, for example, let's say you're a heavy user and you decide that you really like this
yeah.
tool and you like this workflow. You can see here on the left these features around things that you'd want to do as a premium user. So, which actually, interestingly, at the moment, they've got some of these that are involved in the ChatGPT app. So, Vincent, go back to premium. You can see here, if you click on it, it opened up a
Yeah.
tab on the left. And then, yeah, you can see here that it actually does include some of the benefits. So, like, well, actually, it says removing video background. So, actually, maybe it doesn't. But it's interesting to kind of see these benefits because this is basically what they're looking to upsell you on. This is the piece that is important. So, you've got this experience where you can actually do quite a lot. You can download them, which is great. The more you use this app and use it as a workflow inside ChatGPT, the better for them because they will look to, upsell you on those premium benefit experiences.
So now, Elliot, would you use it?
I was reflecting on, for
Say,
example, Photoshop, whether I think it's any better than Nano Banana, for example. I actually think it the experience that I just saw there with the very specific editing with the bar already within a native LLM experience, I've not seen anywhere else. And that is very useful. If you have something specific you want to change, being able to do that is great. So absolutely. I would definitely use the Acrobat. So adjusting PDFs. I don't do that frequently, but it's much easier to do that within the prompt-based experience. I would be interested to test the final piece, which was, yeah, I'd be interested to test Studio against Canva and actually see which one I prefer because you can do templates and various things within Canva. I personally, so far, have not been that impressed by the Canva app, but I think that the Adobe one seems to be very early as well. But they're good experiences if you're not looking to do anything custom. And I think the main thing I'd test with the Studio one is brand kit and brand guidelines. I think that's the most important test because you're always going to have some sort of design preference that you want it to follow.
Yeah, so like I said in the beginning of the video, what I think is very interesting about what we've just seen, and I think a lot of apps will follow this, is they're getting on workflows that are staying in the LLM app, so ChatGPT, very far, and in some instances, all the way till the end. So, yes, they want to get you into their platform, but I think also they're doing a lot of, I guess you could call it freemium marketing, getting people back into associating Adobe with image editing and a lot of simple actions you'll be able to do right in ChatGPT. I think that's very smart. And then maybe you need more sophisticated tools or you want to do some advanced editing, then you'll go into their app. So something like, okay, remove a background, just do it in ChatGPT. Change the color, right? And use the Adobe ecosystem for that. So I think that's something also with Adobe Acrobat. I think that's something we'll see people like, and people are already doing so much work in ChatGPT, they don't want to leave. Um, so I think that's an interesting insight into how these apps might behave in the future. A lot of workflows we'll be able to do end to end. Some we won't, but you'll always have that option to let the user choose, okay, do I now finish on a different platform or, do I just stay here?
Totally. And yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I think at the beginning, you're going to get a lot of these features that are free, and you're going to have to find over time, is Adobe finding ROI in the number of people that they're then additionally seeing and using Adobe products and then converting onto full tiers and things like this. So, and also, I'd be interested to check. I don't know the Adobe products super well, but you know, I'd be surprised if they're even offering anything different than what they offer for free at the moment. So I think you could probably go to the Adobe suite and use the basic tier, I would assume, to do most of the things here. So it's not like they're giving anything more away for free. It's more that they are just making the experience more easily accessible and available to the 850 plus million ChatGPT users.
So yeah, I think in summary, good app, very promising, bugs to fix, and we'd use it.
So something that I think is interesting as well was to test this against the UX design principles. So ChatGPT have released as part of their Apps SDK design principles specifically for apps within ChatGPT. And it's interesting to look at these just because you can sort of test them against apps and see, okay, how do they compare? How have they thought about these things? And then you can also think about it for developing your app. So some of the ones that I think are interesting here, ones that I think the Adobe products actually did really well, if we just go through each of these. So looking at the first one, this is really just looking at, rather than taking the full application and just putting it directly within ChatGPT, it's thinking about what are the specific tools and functions that are most useful, and then just having those that are available. So exactly like we saw when you test Photoshop, you can remove backgrounds, you can make things blurry, some core features, but you're not getting every single editing component that's now available within that window. It's supportive of a chat experience. I think it did a really good job of that. If you wanted to go and do some further refinement and editing, you just needed to go to the separate application, of Photoshop and go and do that refinement. Then there's generally one around the conversational entry. Now, I think when you're looking at it's saying here, you need to support multiple types of prompts. So open-ended, direct, and the onboarding experience. And I think that, you can only really get a good overview of this once you've tested the app properly. But from the test that we ran on most of the apps, it was able to complete the task. So, but you really need to kind of test this one, I think, in more detail to get a good idea of it.
Yeah, I think they do a good job on these. It's a great use case where you as a user have a clear intent. I have a document, I want to do X to it, and maybe X and Y. And it's very intuitive to type that into ChatGPT or use a voice note. And you saw that on the document one, it prompted either an upload or you uploaded right away. And it gets it done and it shows you and you can iterate, right? And I think for any sort of document or photo workflow, a lot of them will work in these design principles. And there is a certain level of complexity where it just gets beyond what is useful for a voice note or a text. You want to do like pixel perfect editing, right? Then you're going to want to get into a different UX UI that just doesn't make sense for an LLM. But I think the key here that if it's very straightforward and you can describe it with text or natural language, um, it's a good use case for an app on ChatGPT, and that's why this space is so exciting because this is just one of thousands, right? A lot of tools, a lot of SaaS tools, a lot of mobile apps that right now have quite cumbersome UX with a lot of menus and buttons that you need to learn can just turn into some sort of natural language intent-based command, right? So I think what's interesting about these design principles is that there there's so much opportunity for innovation, right? What is intuitive in a chat that right now is still kind of in a mobile app experience like Adobe? How many of us are actually logging into Adobe, signing into an account, and going through all the barriers to removing a background? That's why I think so many people love um, these kind of websites, removebackground.com, because it's like this intent-based domain where I want to do this work and it gets done. But now we're bringing that into ChatGPT. It's kind of a platform of intent.
Spot on. And I think it's going to be really, I'm very excited when we start to get the data on these first applications. So when brands start to release the traffic that they're getting from ChatGPT and onboarding new users, I think it'll be a really good indication to say, like, okay, yeah, we're finding that these are optimal experiences. And it's a good front way for us because it will be a good sort of like story. And and understanding that, yeah, this is actually a good distribution channel for companies because it does need to convert. There's no point in just having this, you paying tokens for people to use your app and to pay for this experience unless it actually helps you to bring, more interest in branding and users. So hopefully we get there. Would also be really interested to hear your feedback. And if you've tested the app, if you think it's good, what other advantages or disadvantages you think Adobe are having by launching this. And I know other people have been doing a load of testing, and I've seen some positive and some people struggling with some use cases. So if you've got any feedback or ideas, just drop them in the comments below.